when I mentioned Scott Sheldon's name earlier, it was a big cheer went up, and I can only imagine that it can hardly be his friends because he doesn't have any, but it must be a lot of people who are now working with him in this real estate gig that he's got going on. Woo. Right? Yeah, woo. Yeah, woo. So he wrote me a little bio to tell you, but I'm not going to do that. One thing I'm just going to tell you about Scott is we did this play a while ago called 5 years ago called Penelope, which was it was a very fun play. And Scott and his friend thought it would be very fun when I was on stage waiting to go on, and they were still in the dressing room, to take my cell phone and take a picture of his own testicles. It was very funny, and I used that as my screensaver for months to come. Because his testicles are extremely large. I mean, some of you know that about. When people say, oh, he's got a pair of balls on him, it's true. It's like a toddler wearing boxing gloves. Most amazing thing. I want you to bear that. He's a bit nervous for coming on to do this, so I want you to bear that in mind. Legally, I have to read this now, though. Scott Sheldon is very excited to be back on stage in front of his Rogue Machine family. He has missed you all more than you could imagine, blah, blah. He's not even... Oh, it gets personal. He's not even upset that once again he has to be on stage with Ron Bottitta. At least this time, Ron has all his clothes on. Fantastic, really funny, well done, great writing. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Sheldon!
Well, then. It was 95 degrees and 90% humidity in Antigua, Guatemala. And I was sweating my balls off. The forecast called for torrential downpours all day. The sky was velvet black and rumbling as if it was ready to open up at any minute. I had traveled to Guatemala for a wedding of a dear friend, which I was told could kill me. I was 4 months into cancer and in no mood to hear that the airplane pressure on a PICC line in your arm could cause blood clots. The hair was gone, and I had just recovered from a spinal headache, which happens when they fuck up your spinal tap and they don't leave enough fluid around your brain. Lots of fun. So I said, fuck it, to all of it, and I went anyway. Non-Hodgkin's diffuse large B-cell lymphoma is a special kind of hell. In my case, it's a holy hell. The wedding ceremony was spectacular. We were all sitting outside in the ancient ruins of some Spanish monastery. This guy just about to ready to piss on us. And these two, the husband and wife, are sharing their handwritten vows. And I keep looking up thinking, man, they better pick up the pace here. Or else all of these fucking fancy people are going to get pissed on. Didn't really matter to me. It's not like the rain was going to mess up my hair. I already looked like Uncle Fester stuffed into the borrowed suit of an anorexic. Any minute it was going to pour, and everyone would have to take off running like it was Black Friday at Walmart. The ceremony ended. We all meandered into the reception area, and as soon as the last person was inside, the sky finally unleashed a storm, right where we were seated, seconds ago. Not one person got wet. I greeted the groom at the reception, and I said, man, that was close, huh? You must have been shitting yourself, hoping it wouldn't rain until y'all finished. He looked at me peacefully and said, no. What do you mean, no? He said, I knew it wasn't going to rain until we finished. Oh, really? How did you know that? Who are you, Al fucking Roker? No, he said, we prayed and asked God to hold off until we were finished. Oh. You prayed? Okay, sure, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They prayed. Now, the whole God thing had really gotten stuck in my craw over the last few months. When you have cancer, everyone you meet says, I'll keep you in my prayers. I would smile and say thanks, but as far as I was concerned, it was complete bullshit. You see, I was raised Irish Catholic. I was an altar boy. I sang in the choir, all that stuff, and no priest ever touched me. But although he did get in trouble for banging the guitarist in the folk group, but that's a different story. Being raised Irish Catholic is basically a scientific experiment in how much guilt a child can handle before they snap. And when they do snap, they go one of two ways. Either they become a priest, or they never step foot in a church again. I had thought about becoming a priest for a brief second, but what stopped me was that no sex clause. So as I got older, I stopped going to church, and as I got wiser, I realized that organized religion was bunk. It was a structure created by the haves to keep the have-nots in line, plain and simple. There wasn't any God. There was nothing but science, and when you die, that's it, game over. Over the last few years, my life had changed completely. I once was a freewheeling, single, struggling actor / bartender living down by the beach who happened to meet the woman of my dreams, who happened to have 2 amazing, beautiful, intelligent daughters. So as I entered real estate school to change my life and become the 9-to-5 career man with 2 stepkids and this amazing woman, I was diagnosed with cancer. My newly planned life was on hold. I was unable to work. I was going broke fast. I couldn't act anymore. I had gotten to a point where every time I laid down to sleep, I thought, if I didn't wake up, that would be okay. Or as some people would say, I was at the point where I prayed for death. An unexpected package from my father arrived one day. And inside was the crucifix I had gotten on my confirmation day. My dad had been cleaning shit out of the basement, and he had come across it. Since Dad was still a devoted Catholic, he thought it would help me. Thanks, Dad. Thanks a lot. Great. Crucifix. I tossed it aside somewhere, never to be looked at again, thinking, you could have sent a few $100, something I could have really used. Whatever. Months later, I was depleted. There were chemo infusions and a tumor that had been radiated off my face, which left 3rd-degree burns on the inside of my mouth. I had 9 root canals and lost 1 tooth. I had permanent nerve damage on the left side of my face and a complete destruction of my left sinus cavity. All I could manage to do on a daily basis was drive the kids home from school, and that made me unbelievably weak. Before reaching my apartment door one day, I paused and put my head down and hoped I would just drop dead right there. And when I opened my eyes, there, on the floor of the parking garage, right in between my feet, was the crucifix, staring up at me. I hadn't thought about it in months. I had no idea where I'd left it, but there it was at the bottom of my feet. What the fuck? It was weird. It was so weird. I reached out to my religious friend, the one who got married and supposedly had a direct line to the Almighty, and he said, without hesitation, you're being hunted. God's found you. God found me. The fuck does that mean? He said that God knew I was hurting. He wanted to show me that I wasn't alone, and that there were things greater than myself working, and that it was taken care of, and I didn't need to be stressed or worried. I just had to have faith. Here we go again. I had had it up to here with the God talk, and the everything happens for a reason. When your nose bleeds profusely every night, and every time you blow it, bloody pieces of your sinus cavity end up in the tissue. When you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself, you're not thinking of God's plan. You're thinking of, fuck this shit. So, as an atheist, I chalked up the whole crucifix thing to a coincidence. Very strange coincidence, but a coincidence all the same. I put it in a box so I wouldn't know where it was. So I would know where it was this time, and I left it at that. The next week, it was gone. Literally gone. A few days later, I woke up in the middle of the night, sweaty, my nose bleeding, fairly common occurrence, and there, right on the bedside table, was the crucifix. It just appeared. I lived alone. No one was there but me. No one knew where it was. It just showed up. Was God hunting me? My friend's words stuck in my mind. God was taking care of it. I don't need to worry. That week, for the first time in 20 years, I went to church. I listened to the music. I listened to the pastor who was preaching about giving up the illusion of control. Suddenly, I felt the best I had in months. I'm not sure if it was God. After all, I don't believe in God, or do I? They say prayer is a sign of the truly desperate, but I mean, so what if it is? I was desperate. I wanted to be well. I wanted to have a stable income and someday be on stage again. So I prayed and I went to church every Sunday and I gave up control. What did I have to lose? I was declared to be in full remission a year ago this month. Which also happens to be the anniversary of my girlfriend and I meeting. I live with the love of my life, and I am a stepdad to her wonderful daughters. My new career is starting to take off, and for the first time in 4 years, I'm standing on a stage again. And I know all of this is true because it's due to the fact that I gave faith a try. I hardly stress anymore, I don't lose sleep, and I'm happy. A month ago, at the end of church service, my pastor looked at me from the pulpit and said, "You have thyroid cancer, but it's going to be okay." What he couldn't possibly know that exactly 2 days earlier, my oncologist had diagnosed me with thyroid cancer. I'll need surgery next month. But I'm not scared. I'm not angry. I know deep down I have no control over the outcome, but I do have control of how I react to it. And now I choose to wake up every morning, and I thank God for another day, for another miracle, for every moment, for this moment. In 2018, I had a giant tumor on my face that had grown so quickly that when I finally got to see an oncologist, the first words out of his mouth were, "Holy shit." Not exactly what you want to hear from your oncologist. But ironically, he was right. For me, this whole portion of my life literally turned out to be holy shit.